Without further ado, we have our next speaker, which is Lorne Svarc. Welcome, Lorne. So Lorne is the founder and CEO of Technodramatics. I love that title, the company, by the way. Anything with dramatists, I'm sorry. Founder and CEO of Technodramatists, and he will be talking about live augmented production. So without further ado, Lorne.
Cool. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here. I'm just going to quickly share my presentation. Cool. So hi, my name is Lorne Svarc. I am the founder and CEO of Technodramatists. A little about me. I do a lot of things, but the way I got into this industry and craft was through a writer. I'm a playwright by trade. I got my Master's of Fine Arts at the New School for Drama in New York City. But I've always been producing work. I did a lot of work as an animator. I've been a teacher, even teaching all of this kind of thing to kids, teaching theater and filmmaking and animation. And I'm a creative technologist. I like to find new technologies and figure out ways to create art and storytelling with them. Which brings us to Technodramatists. I founded Technodramatists in 2018 because I kind of realized that there were all these new emerging technologies like augmented reality and spatial computing and motion capture and sorts of mobile apps and all of these things that were able to do immense, powerful computing things that could be used for art that used to cost tens of thousands of dollars just to do a little bit of it. And now suddenly with all these new technologies using mobile devices and such, you're able to do these things for a lot cheaper and a lot easier. So we created this company to create theater shows that use these new technologies, but in a way that puts the performer first and puts the artist first. So we make sure that all the technology that we design could be taught in about 30 minutes and that it doesn't take away from the artist's process. So there's a lot of crazy technology out there where you need to go to Intel Studios and you need $10,000 per minute, whereas we wanted to build tools that anybody can use and to start creating things with. And that's kind of the heart of our company and why we decided to do this. And we've created, or we are part of creating, a new art form that we like to call augmented reality performance. So for those who don't know, just a quick primer, what is augmented reality? Augmented reality is when you layer digital modalities, anything virtual, on top of the real world, right? So virtual reality, you put on a headset, and that headset takes over. All you see is what's in the virtual world. Whereas augmented reality, you see the virtual things and the real world. So the most famous example was Pokemon Go, right? So Pokemon Go, you're walking around your town with your cell phone, and when you look through your cell phone, you see a little monster, and you shoot balls at that monster, and you capture that monster, right? The monster's not actually there, but you see it as if it's there through your device, and it's interacting with the real environment. So when we were thinking about, using emerging technology for theater and live performance, whether that's comedy, concerts, public speaking, we really thought that augmented reality is the technology and tool set that naturally goes with it, right? Because what I love personally as a storyteller and why I was always drawn to the theater was the live nature of it, right? And whether it's live like in person or live like this online, I think the beauty of it, the magic, is that anything can happen, right? Like, I could accidentally fall off my chair now, and that would be terrible for me, but it would probably be entertaining for you, at least a little bit, right? So you want to have that anything is possible nature in your work for something to really, really feel live, right? It's that synchronicity that we're all in this together. Like one of my favorite things in the world is when I'm at a show and I haven't been to one in a while, and I look forward to going to one soon live, and the lights go down, and suddenly the whole audience takes out like one breath together, and they're ready for anything to happen. So we really want to capture that with everything that we do and that we make, whether it's our own project, because we create our own shows, and we also license our technology and do collaboration projects with other companies and individuals, right? And so what's cool about augmented reality is that it's immersive, right? It's in the moment. It gets you into it. You see a real person, you see these objects, you feel like you're there. And what's also amazing about it, right, is that it's interactive, is that, even in Pokemon Go, you could flick that ball and hit that monster. It's not just happening. It's not just CGI, right? Like a lot of the things that we do, they look like CGI because they're virtual effects, but CGI is done afterwards, right? Marvel shoots a movie with all the green screens, the ping pong balls, and all of that, and then they composite things, the buildings falling down, the monsters. That's all done afterwards. With augmented reality, it's happening in the moment. So everything that you see is actually being created and interacted with and responded to in real time. And then, like I started with, synchronous, right? Synchronous, that's the hard word. Which is it's happening at the same time. We're all seeing this. Movies are cool, TV is cool, but there is something magical about something that's happening right now, right in front of you. And we started as a live performance company, only doing live shows. Then the pandemic hit, and like most people in our industry, we kind of had to figure out what to do next. After some soul searching, we decided we were going to create online shows, live streaming performances as well, productions as well. And before we decided to do that, we really had to make sure that these three things, immersivity, interactivity, and synchronicity, were going to be part of it. Because if not, then it's just it loses that magic, right? It's not theater. If it's theater, it's not really a concert. It's a concert. Like, it's, I guess, fun to watch a pre-recorded concert on YouTube, but it's a very, very different experience, than actually being at a concert or even being at a live stream concert. So I want to go into literally the details of what we can do. But before that, I kind of wanted to show a video that we made just to give an idea of what I'm talking about. And this, we took this from a show that we shot about a month ago. This is where I am now. This was a clothing store before COVID hit, and we cleared out the clothes to the other side of the room, which actually show you it's clothing everywhere. And we decided to turn it into a performance space. And we had a really cool show with this Canadian-Mexican artist named Joko. I'm here. We're a New York-based company. I am here in Montreal right now. And he had this concept called the abstractnaut, where he is an abstract astronaut, kind of through every song exploring the different universes of his imagination to try to find love and meaning. So what we did is we made this. We live streamed this on YouTube to several hundred people. It was really fun. It was an exciting show. It was really cool for an independent artist. What's also cool is that we did this whole thing in 3 weeks, right? So again, going back to like why we started the company, is that we wanted to make tools that are easy to use so that artists can iterate with them quickly, so artists could explore, and that you don't have to be the biggest artist in the world to use the most cutting edge technology.
So what is up next for you after, like, are you starting to see a rebound now? People are starting to book? Are you starting to see a lot of events moving forward? Or how has your business changed now that things are now opening up? And certainly, like, obviously New York theater, everyone is like awaiting with bated breath to get back to Broadway and to New York, and you're in the hub of it all. So are you seeing a rebound? Are you seeing a lot of, interest in this, in your work and in other projects in this theatrical vein?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird and fascinating time where you're kind of like, the answer is yes to everything that you just said. So you have people who are just like raring to go, ready for big Broadway productions. Off-Broadway's already begun. The smaller theaters get a little advantage here.
Nice.
Where they're like, you could actually make ends meet by still selling out 30% of your theater, whereas you can't open up a Broadway show in that regard. So yeah, but it's an interesting decision to make too, right? We just spent a year of our lives figuring out how to make these virtual shows. And we think like what we learned there is pretty valuable, right? Like, there are ways to make these shows exciting on their own. So we're kind of we're doing both. We've got some for early 2022, basically we're planning return to the live stage. And in the meantime, we're still going with virtual shows. And I think a lot of the key is to do things that you can't do in a live show, right? So a lot of our shows have kind of like a gamification aspect where you're doing puzzles that are part of the show, right? We never want that to take over the show. We're not trying to create a virtual escape room. We're creating performances. But when you could have audiences interacting in novel ways, that kind of unlocks a whole new thing that pushes through the screen, right? It's kind of one thing we talk about in this virtual world that we've been in is how do we break through that screen and connect with audiences? Like, in the beginning of the pandemic, there was so much bad Zoom theater, and it wasn't anyone's fault. We're just kind of trying to figure it out. They were basically just putting the camera in front of what they were going to do anyways, and expecting that to kind of be its own thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a more distant version of the thing that they were trying to do, and audiences felt very alienated from that. So learning from that, where are the ways that we can make the audience part of the adventure, So for instance, we have a show that will hopefully be coming out by the end of the summer called Mystic AR Cabaret. And it's a burlesque show and a multi-dimensional murder mystery, essentially. And what's really exciting is on just the performance part, we have some of the best, most exciting burlesque performers in New York who are going to be in the show. And then on top of that, we've created this game. So essentially what we wanted to do was virtually emulate the experience of taking on and off AR glasses so that you could see the AR when you want to, and you could not see it when you don't want to. So essentially the performers are performing and there's all this amazing AR. So you can imagine a performer is dancing and sparks are flying out of them, or they're a robot, or they're someone else, and that there are virtual objects behind them, that they can interact with, like what I would have shown in some of the clips, right? What's cool about our technology, again, is that not only does it take place in synchronous time, it takes place in synchronous space, right? So I could place a 3D object. I have a clone of me that we made, right? That I could put behind me, and I could walk around that clone as if it's really there. And it could also be animated and move, or like in the Joko show that I wanted to show, right? Like the show starts with a rocket ship coming down, and then him exiting the rocket ship in this psychedelic astronaut outfit that is virtual. The costume itself is virtual, right? So objects could be virtual, costumes could be virtual, props could be virtual. And what's also exciting is that they could be interactive as well, right? So in that show, there was a moon, and then the moon is following him around. He's trying to get away from the moon. And then when he turns and grabs the moon explodes into a series of stars.
Wow.
And so it really makes anything possible, like anything that you could imagine in your head, we could create on stage and give people a live experience of it, right? Like a Marvel movie is really cool and costs like $1 bajillion. But again, you're distanced from it, right? Whereas if it's happening live, like that's exciting.
So cool.
And that could have a ton of magic. And again, and this is really something that anybody could do. It's essentially like if you can use an iPhone or an iPad, you can use our performance apps. So you go around with your phone and you place the objects where you want to be. And then you save them into scenes, and then those scenes each have triggers. And then when you're doing your show, that can either be triggered by a computer, like you would trigger lights, or like you would trigger sound in a regular show, or it could also be triggered by the performer on stage. So the performer could strike a certain pose, and that's a trigger. Or the performer could have a small controller on them and press a button, and that's a trigger.
Things
like
explode.
Things explode, or they turn into someone else, or.
Very cool. So you
Literally.
Obviously, then you are phygital. You are a live person. You have the digital. You can bring the digital, all this, all to the live performance. You can bring it online. So you're obviously hybriding all over the place. So you are a great example. And also, sounds like you're doing some similar things that Matt just showed us, like kind of that really futuristic and which is very cool. So you're ahead of the curve.
I didn't catch that performance and for that talk, unfortunately. I was just prepping here.
Oh, but you have to see it. You'll see. You'll have to see his video, because he does similar in terms of, he was talking about the future, and really this is the future of virtual events and bringing the virtual and the phygital and all that. So I think
one thing I talk about a lot is one thing I talk about a lot is that like it's both the future and it's now at the same time. Like I don't pretend to know all the answers, and it's exciting to try to figure them out. But what's really cool is that we can put this technology in anybody's hands, and it's going to be artists who are the ones who figure this out, right? Like augmented reality theater, just like virtual shows in general, they're both new mediums, right? They're both new mediums that don't necessarily have their languages created yet. And we have the opportunity now to create whole new languages of art and storytelling. And to me, that's the most exciting thing. So I'm definitely going to check out that talk.
No, you have to. You have to. So yes, we will revert the audience and everyone here in our post and our wrap up to your site, and so that they can see this, see what you're talking about.